Well, lots changed since I said that, and the words that I used was that I would like to reach 4% in an early state, and if I don't, I will reevaluate. And so that's the language I used. Well, lots happened since then. One, you've had Israel attacked by Hamas. The United States has more challenges than ever before, and my addition of what I bring to the campaign is more important than ever before. Secondly, we've had multiple candidates drop out of the race. And so everybody argued, well, the field should narrow. Well, it has narrowed, and I think you're at a very comfortable level for Iowa to vote. And so I don't intend to drop out. I intend to stay in here. In fact, that's why we're here. That's why we're working so hard for January 15th. If you look at the path to win, you've got to look at this as the most unpredictable political time in our lifetime. And what happens next year is unpredictable with Donald Trump in a lot of different ways. And it's interesting in Iowa that, you know, while the nation has him at 55 or 60% of the vote, in Iowa's 43%. And my theory is because Iowa's focusing on this and they're realizing we've got to go a different direction. And so I think that's going to continue to increase, and then it'll expand as we move into the early states. And so I expect in Iowa that you're going to pass out 4 or 5. That's going to get to go to New Hampshire, and my goal is to be in that number, and then to be able to get to the regions of the country that know me better. And so that's my path to win. And I think things are going to be unpredictable next year. And just like nobody expected Tim Scott to drop out, who knows who else might be there. And I think this is going to be a survival contest, and it's going to be some more consolidation. But I'm in a good position here as long as I can get my message out more effectively here in Iowa. Depth of experience, my optimistic and realistic view of America, and where I'm not advocating for a ring around of America, cutting off ties with China. I'm not advocating invading Mexico. Those are all factors that distinguish. I'm not saying we ought to end the gas tax. So my solutions, which distinguish me, are the ideas I present of a state-based visa program, the only candidate that's advocating to partner with the states to have a legal flow of immigrants in areas that the state needs workers, whether it's in construction or biomedical field or in agriculture. A unique proposal that I have. Whenever you're looking at the workers ages 62 to 66 on Social Security, I'm the only candidate to talk about lifting the penalty for those Social Security recipients who also want to work. Why does the government want to penalize them? That's a realistic approach I have to increase the workforce as well. A very specific goal on moving toward a balanced budget. My idea is on a commission for the future of Social Security and Medicare, just like Reagan did in 1983, is unique, and it's the right approach to addressing that spending challenge that we have. So both the experience, the message, the ideas distinguish me from the other candidates. I think my effectiveness in retail politics helps me here in this state. I meet voters and they like me. That's an important quality. You know, it varies a little bit, but the common themes are they want government to work. They're frustrated because here in Iowa, government works, gets things done. That's what governors do. But in Washington, all we see is they can't pass appropriation bills, they can't fund the government, they can't elect speakers. It's dysfunctional, and people get frustrated by that. They get frustrated by, what they see as a lack of integrity in people in government. And so you've got that disconnect, that frustration, and they want to be able to see America's democracy work more effectively. Secondly, they want somebody who is aggressive and can get things done. That's what they liked about Donald Trump. I supported him in 2016. I supported him in 2020. I said after January 6th, I'm not going to support him again. And I think it's even, that's the other thing that distinguishes me. I've been very clear that we need to go a different direction. And sometimes that costs me, but that honesty is critically important. We don't need a president that's going to go on a revenge tour, and that's what Donald Trump has said very clearly he's going to do. And so that distinguishes my candidacy as well.
Sure.
It's a fight today for the soul of the Republican Party. I'm fighting for the direction of our country, but I'm also fighting for the soul of the party. And I've looked at third-party candidates. I just don't think it's going to work. People are invested in the parties. And so this is the last great hope that we shape the party in a direction that reflects strength of America, character, and respect for the rule of law, another part that's unique in my candidacy. And you all have a choice just like everybody else. And you can say, well, let's go with the fire breather. Let's go with somebody who wants to burn down everybody and appeals to the Trump party versus the traditional Republican Party. I'm making the case that's a terrible direction for America. And I'm passionate about it, and I think that voice is important. You asked me again what Iowans are saying, and it's the economy. Two things they continue to speak out about is the economy and border security. Those are the two issues. In the first 30 days, I would be meeting in South America and Latin America. American foreign policy needs to focus south. I know we have to deal with Iran and China, threats abroad. That obviously is a focus. But whenever I was head of the DEA, I went down and met with President Vicente Fox. And I said, we need your help. The Tijuana cartel, led by the Ariana Felix brothers, are bringing in methamphetamine in the United States of America here to Iowa. They're destroying the crossing of people, and they're trafficking in persons. President Fox said, I agree with you, they're a problem for us as well. We'll partner together. We cross-train, we share intelligence, and within a short amount of time, the heads of that organization had been one shot and killed, and the other one had been captured. And so we cannot invade Mexico, we have to partner with them. And that's how you address border security, and that's the first part of it. I obviously would continue to build infrastructure, not just the wall, but the infrastructure through technology that can respond. You know, a question everybody should ask is, what is operational control of the border? What does it take to bring us border security? And the answer is that it is how quick do you respond to an intrusion, and how do you deal with that intrusion? And so you have specific measurement capabilities. And you also partner with the governors. It baffles me that Governor Abbott puts the water barriers there, and I want them to be safe for immigrants, but I want them to be a barrier as well, just like a wall. President Biden chose to sue Governor Abbott and say, you don't have authority to do that. I will call in the governors, Democrat and Republican, into my office and say, we want to work together. We don't want to work in opposition, because it's in all of our interest to secure that border. So those are some of the steps that I would take. I did mention computer science, which did put us in the forefront of leading the nation. That was my initiative as head of the Governor Association. Governor Reynolds actually invited me in to help promote computer science here in Iowa as well. So that's one. I started out, it was after 100 years of Democratic rule in Arkansas. I was the first governor that was a Republican governor with a Republican legislature. I changed the culture about taxes, and we started out with a 7% income tax rate when I got elected. I reduced that over my 8 years as governor down to 4.9%. $700 million a year moving from the government back to the taxpayers. We had never had a savings account for the state. For 100 years, they would forecast what the revenue would be, and they would spend every dime of it every year. And I said, why can't we have a savings account? So we created a reserve account. I turned over to my successor a $3 billion surplus, and we had zero to begin with. For a small state, that's significant. We raised teacher pay, and we became the #1 state for steel production. I recruited United States Steel into Arkansas right along the Mississippi River. You add that to Big River Steel and Nucor-Yamada Steel, and when they go into production, U.S. Steel, we will pass Pennsylvania as the #1 state on steel production. All of those things helped the quality of life in Arkansas. We grew in technology businesses. That was a big focus of mine. We had a accelerator program in which we put state money into to partner with industry to bring in thought leaders in technology that we would eventually recruit to the state. One of the things, of course, we kept the Medicaid expansion in Arkansas. I want to mention one thing I did that I think is important to tell you how I govern and how I lead, but also illustrates how it helps people. One, I went into the governor's office on Martin Luther King Day, and I saw a sign saying by the Secretary of State, "The Capitol is closed today in honor of Martin Luther King and Robert E. Lee." Of course, that is offensive to a large portion of minorities in Arkansas. I worked with the legislature, which took my leadership to give Dr. King his own day of celebration. And that helped heal wounds and helped brought our state together. But then, you remember the George Floyd murder and the riots that came with that, the protests that many of them turned violent. In Arkansas, we had the same thing. In Little Rock, you had protests that turned violent. The Capitol was threatened. You had buildings being burned. You had people being hurt. And I'm watching this on TV. And our mayor and our chief of police was not doing much. I called in the National Guard. I called in the state police. I set up a unified command structure, and I said, I want you to go out and arrest people that violate the law. That night, they arrested 70 people, and the violence stopped. The next day, though, I called in the young African-American protest leaders who were young, and they're not part of the violence. They were there because they believed changes need to be made. And I asked them, would you serve on a task force to help us to address your concerns? And they just beamed and said, absolutely, of course we would. And I said, you're going to have to serve on the task force with law enforcement. We're going to bring chiefs of police in there and sheriffs. And they said, we'll do it. They came out with recommendations that led to a database that if somebody's fired from one department because of excessive force, their name goes in a database so they're not hired by another department. Common sense approach. We enhanced our training at their request for how to handle force whenever you're making an arrest. And that's what they recommend, but they also recommended increased pay for law enforcement. As a result, the legislature approved $5,000 one-time bonus for every certified law enforcement officer in the state and increased pay. And so that's how I lead, is firmness, enforce the law, but also trying to bring people together for solutions. And that's a healing part of it. And I think that improved the quality of life in the state.
Thank you.